Imagine driving across the entire United States, from New York to Los Angeles, and back again without stopping at a single charging station. Automobile high voltage sound impossible? Well, it just happened. In September 2025, Africa's very first self-powered electric vehicle shocked the world by completing a 5,000-mile range test in America without ever plugging in. This isn't just another electric car. This is a direct challenge to Tesla, Toyota, BYD, and every EV giant on the planet. And it comes from a place the world never expected, Africa. Developed by visionary African engineers, this revolutionary EV doesn't rely on charging stations or fossil fuels. Instead, it harnesses self-generating energy technology, a breakthrough that could rewrite the future of global transportation. American experts were skeptical. Some called it a hoax, others labeled it science fiction. But in September 2025, those doubts were crushed when the vehicle embarked on an ambitious 5,000-mile road test across U.S. highways, passing through deserts, mountains, and city grids. And the result? Flawless performance. Zero charging. Zero emissions. Just pure, continuous power. This achievement is more than just a record-breaking road trip. It's a declaration. Africa is no longer just a consumer technology. It's a creator, an innovator, and now a challenger in the global EV race. Elon Musk once said the future of EVs depends on charging networks. But what if Africa just proved him wrong? What if the future doesn't need charging stations at all? This 5,000-mile self-powered EV test in America isn't just an African triumph. It's a global wake-up call, a call to rethink energy, mobility, and the very definition of what an electric car can be. The world is watching. The automakers are scrambling, and history is being rewritten. Globe showing Europe, Africa, high voltage. But the real story begins after the 5,000-mile test. Because this wasn't just a technological showcase. It was a direct challenge to the world's biggest automakers. Almost immediately, whispers began circulating in Silicon Valley and Beijing. How did African engineers achieve what trillion-dollar companies fail to deliver? A car that powers itself endlessly. No charging infrastructure, no downtime, just perpetual mobility. Elon Musk's Tesla team is said to be investigating the core of this technology. Meanwhile, Chinese EV giants like BYD and NIO are reportedly pressuring their governments for answers. Could Africa hold the missing key to dominating the global EV race? And here's where it gets even more intriguing. American lawmakers are suddenly paying attention. If Africa's EV technology is real, it could disrupt trillions of dollars invested in charging stations, lithium mining, and oil. Behind closed doors, lobbyists are moving fast. Oil companies see a threat to their empire. Battery manufacturers see an end to their monopoly. And car makers? They face the possibility of becoming obsolete overnight. This isn't just about a car. It's about who controls the future of energy itself. And while the world debates, Africa is preparing its next move. Sources suggest mass production plants could be coming. Not in Detroit, not in Beijing, but in African cities ready to rise as new global tech hubs. If that happens, it won't just be an African victory. It will be a global power shift, one that could rewrite the balance of innovation for decades to come. But with every breakthrough comes resistance. Behind the cameras, whispers of sabotage begin to surface. Reports suggest that during the U.S. test, mysterious attempts were made to intercept the vehicle, unmarked drones, unexplained tracking signals, and even sudden mechanical interference on the highways. Who would try to stop this car? Oil giants? Battery monopolies? Or rival automakers terrified of losing their dominance? What few people know is that this self-powered EV may rely on classified energy technology, something so disruptive, it can make lithium, hydrogen, and even nuclear energy look outdated. Sources inside Africa's tech sector suggest patents are already being secured under extreme secrecy. And here's the kicker. Several Western corporations are rumored to have already approached the inventors, offering billions to either buy or bury the technology. But Africa seems unwilling to sell. Instead, leaders are hinting at something bolder, a coalition of African nations forming a new energy alliance, built not on oil or gas, but on self-generating power. If that becomes reality, the world's energy map will be redrawn. And for the first time in history, Africa could lead the way. Of course, this doesn't sit well with the current powers. Washington is watching, Beijing is strategizing, and Europe is quietly calculating. Because one question hangs in the air. What happens if the future of energy no longer belongs to them? Soon after the 5,000-mile test, classified reports began to leak. Documents hinted at closed-door meetings between African innovators and U.S. officials. Not for partnerships, no, for containment. Washington feared that if the technology spread unchecked, it could destabilize trillion-dollar industries overnight. Yet, while Washington hesitated, others moved faster. China quietly sent delegations to Africa, offering massive investments in exchange for early access. European automakers, too, Volkswagen, Mercedes, Renault, scrambled to understand what had just blindsided them. And here's where the story takes a darker turn. Multiple insiders claim that espionage attempts are already underway. Cyber attacks targeting African research labs. Suspicious data breaches traced back to foreign servers. And even unusual power grid failures near testing facilities. Was this coincidence? Or deliberate sabotage designed to slow down a revolution? But Africa isn't backing down. Engineers have now revealed that the vehicle which completed the American test was only a prototype. The real model, the one set for mass production, is rumored to be even more powerful, more efficient, and equipped with anti-tampering systems designed to resist foreign interference. If the prototype shocked the world, imagine what the production model could do. And so the stage is set. On one side, global powers desperate to control or crush this African breakthrough. On the other, a rising continent determined to protect its innovation and redefine its place in history. What's at stake is bigger than cars. It's energy, it's independence, it's power, and the world is holding its breath. Inside Africa's innovation hubs, a veil of secret, and that truth has triggered a chain reaction. In Silicon Valley, whispers of panic are spreading. Executives fear that if African EVs reach the global market, the billion-dollar charging networks built by Tesla, ChargePoint, and others could become worthless overnight. In China, the response is even more aggressive. Reports suggest entire research divisions have been reassigned, tasked with replicating or stealing the breakthrough before Africa can scale production. But Africa isn't standing alone. Quiet alliances are forming. Countries in South America, part of Asia, and even some European startups are approaching Africa not with offers of takeover, but with offers of partnership. The result? A new global bloc may be emerging, a network of nations ready to support self-powered EVs as the next great leap forward. And if that bloc solidifies, the dominance of old powers could collapse almost overnight. But here's the most unsettling revelation yet. According to leaked reports, the inventors behind Africa's self-powered EV are already working on something even bigger. Not just cars, but aircraft, ships, and entire cities powered by the same principle of endless, self-sustaining energy. If that's true, then what we've seen so far isn't the revolution itself. It's only the beginning. Mass production, the next battlefield. Africa's prototype has proven itself on U.S. soil, but building millions of these vehicles requires factories, supply chains, and global infrastructure. And that's exactly where the pressure is mounting. Foreign investors are circling like hawks. Some promise billions in funding. Others bring quiet threats. Already, attempts have been made to block African access to critical materials like semiconductors and advanced processors, an economic chokehold designed to slow production before it even begins. But Africa anticipated this. Instead of relying solely on imports, engineers are building local supply chains, creating a new ecosystem of African-made components. Step by step, they're cutting the strings of dependency that have held the continent back for decades. And this independence is what terrifies the old powers the most. Because once Africa shows it can manufacture self-powered EVs at scale, the balance of global industry will shift forever. Meanwhile, the sabotage grows bolder. Cargo shipments of key equipment vanish en route. Research data mysteriously disappears from servers. Even unexplained accidents at test facilities have raised alarms. What was once speculation is now undeniable. Someone, somewhere, is willing to cripple this project at any cost. And yet every attack only fuels more determination. African engineers double security. Governments deploy military escorts for shipments. And whispers spread of a secret underground lab where the most advanced prototypes are now being safeguarded. But here's the twist the world didn't see coming. During the 5,000-mile American test, engineers secretly collected something far more valuable than just performance data. They gathered environmental readings, evidence that their technology isn't just sustainable. It adapts, it learns, it grows stronger with every mile traveled. Which means the longer this car runs, the more efficient it becomes. A machine that literally improves itself, rewriting the rules of engineering in real time. And now, the stakes are higher than ever, with mass production looming, with espionage intensifying, and with entire industries on the brink of collapse. One question haunts the world's leaders. Who will control the unstoppable machine that never stops? In the end, no amount of sabotage, no lobbying, and no foreign interference could stop what had already begun. Africa's self-powered EV rolled off its first production line, sleek, silent, unstoppable. And with it, a new chapter in human history was written. Within months, orders poured in from across the globe. Families, businesses, even governments demanded access to the vehicle that never stops. And as these cars fill the roads of cities from Nairobi to New York, from Lagos to Los Angeles, one truth became undeniable. The age of fossil fuels had ended. The age of charging stations had ended. The world's energy chains had been broken, and Africa had led the way. Elon Musk once said the future belongs to those who build it. But in September 2025, the future was not built in Silicon Valley or in Beijing's megafactories. It was built in Africa and unleashed on the world. And as the sun rose on a new era, one thing was clear. This was no longer just a car. This was freedom. This was power. This was the beginning of a revolution that would never stop.